Welcome to the Piper Aviation Museum. As we can see, we have a PA-38 Tomahawk here on some insanely high stands. Look at it. Lycoming engine. That's really cool. And then over here, we also have a PA-31 Navajo. We'll take a look at that. So this is the Piper PA-30 Twin Comanche above us. Look at that. Right there. Let's head inside the Aviation Museum. Welcome to the Piper Aviation Museum. Let's walk. Whoa. Look at that. Big old Piper RC aircraft. And then we can see a Piper on the back. Look at this Piper Cub wall art. And then look at the little Piper model, maybe another RC plane. And now there's another Piper RC Cub.
There's in the elevators too.
Look at that. So look at this Piper. And then we also have some models. Look at this, a Gemini jet. Here we have a runway floodlight. And then look at this. Wow. Hey guys. This is Piper's collection of World War II memorabilia, as well as this. Look at all that. Look at this. There's even more. Look at the patches.
That's their make of the J3.
That's awesome. Sky Coupe. Look at all these patches. There's a Panavia Tornado patch, KC-135. Bro, what? T-33 patch? Something tells me that this is not from World War II. Over here we have 4, and this is just some more. Yep. This is why they moved here to Lock Haven, which is where we are in. There was a fire in their original factory. Look at all that.
And then they moved to this warehouse.
Yep, they moved to the warehouse that's outside that I will show you at some point. But wow. Look at that. There's a lot of models that I haven't really been... Yeah, Taylorcraft models, because that's what it was before it was Piper aircraft.
J4, J5.
And we have the J5 and J4 stuff. And look at this little Piper Cub patch. And then over here we have this is one of the real things from the Piper Cruiser. Wagner twin Piper Cub thing. And we have some other Piper aircraft, experimental aircraft that have been made. Pretty cool.
Civilian aircraft production.
And then here's some flights around the world in Piper planes. A couple, just some other Pipers. But this one I have actually seen before because it is on display at Dulles. Yeah, I've seen that plane before. Here is 9. We have a ton of Wings of Destiny and radio contests. Look at all these, like, fighters that are definitely not made by Piper. I mean, there's a couple of them, but... We then have over here some other planes. We have a P-47 Thunderbolt, and we have an ejection seat from a PA-48. Here are a bunch of Piper blueprints for some jets and propeller aircraft that I don't think ever got made, but the mini airliner that never was. More blueprints. That would be a cool airliner. And this is who drew it. That guy. There he is. And then we have Piper. Wow, yeah, look at that. Comanche, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think it's a Comanche. And then look at a little Piper model in here. Now let's walk over to 11. Fairy tales. And giveaway airplanes. So they give away planes at points. Once a week. Still?
No. It was during that giveaway time.
Ah. Or you could win cigarettes. And then all fairy tales. Oh, that's a great call sign to have. That's probably the fairy tale. Over here we have Global Aero. So it's showing off a bunch of Pipers doing global things. Wow. And then over here we have El Gavilan. Here's his planes. And then we even have some of his patches. And look at the brochure to get the Gavilan. And there it is. And then we have Yellow is Beautiful, the J3 Cub, which is the most iconic Piper aircraft of literally all time. And then over here we have the J2, which is slightly less iconic, but, and then here's, we're going back. Look at that. Oh, and there's the PA-48. General Aviation Pioneer. So, oh my gosh, that is unfocused. Sorry. General Aviation Pioneer section. So it's about like all Piper aircraft and how they pioneered in general aviation. And then up here we have Piper twin engine. And then look at all these models. Oh, look at there's a Cub up here. And then we have another huge PA-28. So this is the Vero Beach plant before the hurricane of 2004. So this is when they moved, and then they now have all the Pipers that you now know today, like the Mirage, and like the Cheyennes, and the Tomahawks, the Navajo Chieftain. I love the Chieftain. It's a great one. And here's a bunch of where they make Piper aircraft, I guess. So Mexican, Colombia, German, Australia. I don't know where that is. We'll come back to that. Poland, Slovenia, Italy, Venezuela, Osaka Aviation. That sounds. Is that Japanese? I don't. Okay. Oh yeah, Osaka, Japan. I'm a smart guy. Netherlands, Czech Republic, and Brazil. So now we have William T. Piper. There he is. There's who made the Piper Pipery. Okay, let's get him out of the light. The Piper Pipery Piper guy. This guy. That's him. That is him. There's him with a Piper. There he is. And then here's some clothes. And then look at all this stuff. This is when they first made the Piper PA-15/17. We got Wall of Honors for the Piper PA-15, or Outstanding Contributions to the Short Wing Piper Cup, which is a PA-15. So we're getting more modern, and why not strap a bomb to a Piper PA-32? That's a great idea. And then over here, we have some Piper Pawnees. So just a bunch of that stuff. And then over here, we have Pipers. This is 100,000 Pipers. I would say that's the 100,000th Piper. We have some control panels. And here is a 1972 flood, and look at all those Pipers in the water. That's pretty...
Storm Agnes.
It was a tropical storm. And then we can go here and take a seat. Oh my gosh, this is a comfy chair. And we can look at the Piper wall, which this is pretty cool. So you can see it starts off over here with some of the Cubs, and as it goes through, we can see a lot more of like different planes like the Apache and the Cherokees and the Pocono and Enforcer, and then getting down towards the end, we have the Meridian, the Malibu Mirage, the Warriors, the Archers, the Arrows, the Saratoga, the Sencas, and like the Cheyennes and all that stuff. So, and you can still see a lot of from about here. No, probably about here on. You could see a lot. And then over here we have some Piper model planes. These are wooden model planes. We had a PA-24, got a J3 Cub, PA-23. Oh, there's no glass there. Piper PA-18, Piper PA-2, Tri-Pacer. This is one of my favorite Pipers. The PA-15 and the PA-20 Pacer. And then over here we have even more. We have the PA-12 Super Cruiser, the Piper L4, which is the Grasshopper with invasion stripes, Piper J4 Cub, so that's not what that came from. And then we have the J5 Cub Cruiser. We have the J3 Cub civilian version. That is the military version. And J2 Cub. And the E2 Cub. There's a Cub wheel. Oh, that's a very weird feeling tire. That's really cool. We got Piper Parts Center, the propellers, the radios, and some instruments, some other things. It's pretty cool. We have a ton of stuff. We got all these like pins and glasses, and then here's an ornament. Piper Super Cub, 1/24th scale. And then look at how big those tires are. There's skids, got a Piper Cub, crop dusting with a Piper Cub, and then smoke with the Piper Cub, a Piper Cub next to a C5 Galaxy. And then here we have an RC Carbon Cub. Here's a bunch of like stuff you can get. You can get these like flags. Now, let's head over into this room. And here is where everyone came from. Let's put in a pin over here. Oh my. We did it. So if you guys want to see something that I touched, come to the Piper Museum. And that one right there. This is a model of the plane that is actually at Dulles in the museum. So if you watch one of my videos on the museum, I bet you it's in there. Probably my most recent one, because that's where I did every single plane.
You are still climbing, so push forward a bit on that control wheel. Maybe bring the power back a little bit more to prevent the climb. There you go. That bridge is straight ahead at 12 o'clock. Flare a little bit around
have some other Piper stuff. That flight sim was really cool. I was in an actual Piper PA-38 Tomahawk. That's my first time I've ever been in one. And I did a flight sim in it. Okay. Look at guys, I'm touching grass. I'm touching grass. Look at this aircraft carrier with Cubs. Interesting. The war. Piper production for the war. And we have some other stuff. And then look at this. We have a Marine Corps, because it says USNC. Piper PA, not Piper PA, L4 Grasshopper. Wow. Look at that. It's D-Day mail, guys. That's awesome.
So
That's crazy. And look at this PA-15 Vagabond. There it is. Do not get inside the airplane, but we can look. And don't mind my insanely hard landing on the flight sim. The trim was the rudder pedals weren't there. Hey guys, future Matt here. The trim on that flight simulator was so bad. I had to hold the controls at like a 45-degree angle to keep it straight. Plus, like I said, there's no rudder pedals. And he was also telling me to like cut the throttle when I'm almost at stalling speed. So that's why it was such a hard landing. But he apparently liked the hard landing, so I'll take it. Look at this. We are going into a B-17 cockpit, sort of. Look at that!
Come back to you later.
Oh, we could control this B-17. Just casually roll a B-17. We got all this stuff. Look at, there's like a little Piper tri-pacer. Is this a glider? Oh, there's a dead guy. And then this is a plane that is currently being made. And then look at this. Wow. Over here we have a Piper PA-22 tri-pacer. This is my favorite Piper. I don't know, I like it. If it had the wheels, it would look cooler, but you know what? We'll do it. We're gonna do it to every single plane in this. So here's the cockpit of the PA-22. I love this plane so much. And then look at this. This is a Piper PA-23, I believe. And look at, there's like a little model up there. That's not little, that's like half the size of an actual Piper. But look at the shine on this wing. Beautiful. It is a Piper Apache. Look at that. Look at how cool that wheel looks. You know, we did it. Look at how low this plane is. I did it. I booped a ski. So yeah, Piper, that's a Piper J3 Cub with skis. That's pretty cool. I think this is my first plane I've ever seen with skis. Piper PA-23 235 Apache 1962. So up here we have a J3 Cub, and then over here we have the Piper Comanche. So this is also another really good Piper. This is the 1963 Piper PA-24 Comanche. And something really cool, this Piper right here is the first ever PA-24 400 Comanche to ever roll off the production line ever. I don't know how many of them were made, but see, was the first production model, and it was used by Piper for certification of the type. So this, of like when you see like the Boeing test planes or the Airbus test planes, this is Piper's test plane right here. This is what they did all the FAA tests in. That is actually insane. Now, something even more insane, the Piper Visionary, or the Piper PA-47 Piper Jet. Let's go ahead and give this thing a nose wheel boop. So, this is the PA-47. This thing is huge. This thing used to be in Lakeland, Florida. So there's the jet engine, and you can see some crack marks from all the weathering from Florida, yeah. Let's go under the wing, and let's look at this very unique, one-of-a-kind Piper. Literally, there's only one of these in the entire world. Look at the jet engine. So there's actually no jet engine in it. Wow. And we are right here under it. And it's only done probably only a couple of flights, but its first flight was July 30th, 2008. That is insane. And then this is the Piper J2, and then they upgraded it, and there's literally no brakes on this plane, but then they upgraded it, and now we have the Piper J3 Cub. What most look at all these Pipers. Wow, that's a lot of Piper aircraft. And then over here, well, first over here, we have the Piper J3 Cub. What am I saying? Piper J3 Cub. And then over here we have the Piper J4 Cub Coupe. That's the J4, not this one. This is another J3 Cub. Let's get the J3 Cub. There we go. Can't get the J4, but there it is. Let's go in front of this. Then over here we have a Piper Aztec, I think. That one's gonna be a little more of a struggle to get. Let's go ahead and do this one. Because this is, I believe, another one-of-a-kind plane. I could be wrong. The Piper PT-1, the primary trainer. Yeah, I don't know how many of these were made. But we can go around, and we can see a Piper PA-12 Super Cruiser. The City of Angels. This is not the real one, because the real one... Wait, no, this might be the real one. No, this is the real one. So here I am once again, gonna explain something. So this is actually the real City of Angels, but there's actually two of these Cubs. The City of Washington is the one that is at Dulles, so you still see that in the video. There's two of them. Didn't know that, but now I do, and now you do too. This is the real deal city. The City of Angels. And I just tire touched it. Because this was 100 feet in the sky hanging at Dulles. Here, I'll show a picture of it right there in the cockpit. There it is. Here's the PA-29 Papoose. I hope I don't get canceled for this. Look at all these propellers, guys. And then there's a chair and a bunch of pictures. More propellers. Oh, this is how they make the propellers. So look at, they start with like crazy block of wood. Then they go to smooth block of wood with some thick, and then they smooth it out, and they smooth more and add these leading edges, and then they make it all propellery. And also, if we look outside, there's another Aztec. I think that's an Aztec because this is the Aztec right here. Here we go. So we walk under. Albie. Okay, so here we go. Look at how tight confined this is. You have probably like 4 inches.
And then you have the wing of the other one.
And then you have the wing of this one. But we got this. We got this. Let's go. And let's crawl back under the wing. I did it. So, as we're looking around, we have some stuff. Oh my. Is this supposed to be a tug? This thing is huge. We also have a car. It's a Buick. I know my cars because I'm a car guy. It's Bill Piper's 1953 Buick Skylark. And then right here we have the Piper PA-25 Pawnee. This is a air tractor, as we can tell. Dang it, it's closed. I wanted to go in this. It's a Cheyenne. So like you could sit in all the seats and stuff. Look at that. We can look in. What? Look at the cockpit. Bro. I wish this was open. That'd be so cool. And look at, we have another tri-pacer. I like this color. Wow. Okay, we have another Piper. Not surprisingly. Piper PA-16 Clipper. And then we got this Piper back here. Chieftain. If we look back to that flood picture, that's how high it was right there. It was a 31-foot flood because the river's far away. But there it is. That's how high it would have been here when all those Pipers were in there. Here's the picture. That is wild. So we are back in the flight simulator room. And look at this model of the airport we are at. Here's the Tomahawk. And that's what I was looking at the whole time. That's cool. And the propeller blade isn't there anymore. This is the train thing, and look at, there's like a whole airport down there. And then up at this level, there's like some trains, of course, and more trains. And we have the Tomahawk. So there's the building. And then here is the airport, which is where all of our Piper aircraft that we saw essentially were made. That's really cool. But when I did that flight simulator, I took off here, I went around, and then when I came back, or I went this way, I went that way. I went around, and when I came back, I landed very, very hard on this runway.
Ooh, yeah, nice.
Ooh.
Yeah, all right. Very, very good.
But that is awesome. Okay, so this building we're driving past is where they made all of the Pipers. So all the Cubs, all Pipers that were made while they were based here in Lock Haven were made right here, right in this building. All the Cubs. This is super cool. And this is like the huge building where they produce them. Wow. That is crazy. Here is the PA-30 up close. There's the building. But this is what I got at the museum. It is a Gemini General Aviation Piper J3 Cub. Look at that. Wow. And now, this is the end of the video. Say goodbye to the Piper Aviation Museum. And I'm gonna say goodbye to you, everyone. That is it for this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. See you aviators in the next one.